This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Kenneth Chester for the first time. Welcome to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Before we get started, let people know what's going on. We use Podmatch to find our guest, and right now we have a QR code up there. If you scan that, that's how we got you as a guest on the podcast. And so we're using that capability of sharing the QR codes. And so people can scan that. They can figure out if you're running a podcast or you're trying to be a guest on a podcast, check that out. You can just scan it with your QR code right now. Other than that, before we get to the start of the program, I always ask every guest a couple of questions. What motivates you and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me? I got sick of yelling at the TV. I was at the point, I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of research, and I got sick and tired of all the misinformation. And I came to a conclusion I could do better. Mm-hmm. So that kind of drives me every week. I read everything from Progressive Railroading to T&D World, which is an electrical utility publication, to Water World, which is in the water industry, and everything in between. That was what the motivation, but I like doing it. I'm just geeky enough to be in all of this little tech stuff. So I'm constantly reading. If you were to see my in basket of all the stuff that I go, ooh, I want to talk about that. I probably only, for my radio shows every week, probably only convert maybe 10 to 15% of what I print, let alone what's staged in my email that I've collected. So yeah. That would be me. That's cool. I'm totally geeked out about this stuff.
Yeah, you're a tech geek. Well, I'm a child of the 70s. I'm a Trekkie. As I said before, I'm a software guy. I do software engineering. And I'm an electronic musician, so I'm all over synthesizers. I'm into sound design, wave design, all kinds of stuff. So I'm all over the place. But I've had this podcast where I talk to creative people and also people who have interesting subjects to talk about. And because I kind of have my one foot in the tech world, I thought it would be cool to talk to you. And I love cars. I've been reading Road and Track, and Car and Driver. I'm into performance cars. I'm into EVs. I'm into anything that's like cool, And so we can.
Let me ask you a question. When it comes to cars, we're going to keep this simple.
Yeah.
Old style or new?
Well, I I'm into like the Hemis from the back in the day. The dot, the darts. The Barracudas. I was kind of like, I like the six packs. I like those muscle cars, right? But I also like 911 SCs. and I also like my uncle had like an Austin Healey, he had a bug spray. So he got
for punishment. Gotcha.
Yeah. So he liked British cars. He was in the Air Force in Europe. He had like an Austin Healey bug spray. So I like, Triumphs. I like anything. I like any kind of cool performance car. I would read like Road and Track as a kid. And I was reading about Ferraris. I'm reading about Lamborghinis. I'm reading about Austin Healey's and whatever, Porsches, anything. And so I am interested in some of the modern tech, like the hydrogen fuel cells, solid state batteries, hybrid cars. But I've always had I'm not like, I only like gas cars. I only like this kind of car. I like anything that's cool, that looks interesting. It has cool tech behind it or has like a style behind it. I'm into.
How many electric cars have you had a chance to drive?
Well, I drove the Prius when it was first around, right?
But that's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid.
Pure electrics?
Yeah, like a Leaf. Like an early Leaf.
No.
But that's not what
let me help you. You owe yourself a trip. Any dealer that sells what I call a current generation pure EV. Now, what I'm talking about, you need a trip to your Genesis dealer. You absolutely do. Either the GV60, which is a pure electric, or a GV70 electrified, you'll never be right again. Or if you're near a GMC dealer, you want to take the Sierra EV for a ride, just promise them you'll bring it back, because you won't.
Yeah, I know, like the modern EVs, when they're done right, like I know we don't get the BYDs, like we don't get those. And I know that those, I've read about those, right? And I know
but here's the thing about electrics, just for a minute. The average person, obviously not you and I, but the average person hears electric and they think golf cart, or they think, oh, they're not very fast. Oh, they don't go very far. Reality check. Number one, the average EV will outrun darn near anything. And in fact, if you do the research, and I know you have, your performance cars today, and I'm talking about the specialty cars, like we talked about the Porsches, the Cossignags, and I can't think of it.
Bugattis, like anything.
Rimac, which is, I want to say Creation, not sure. These guys, all the high-end, low-number performance cars are electric, with an electric motor in each wheel. And they're turning ridiculous numbers, 1,000 horsepower, 600 and 700 foot-pounds of torque. And of course,
0 RPM, right? It's right at 0 RPM. They have all their torque, right?
Right now. I mean, you get it all from the time you drop your foot. I drove a Lucid Air. You will never be the same.
Lucid
Air has a performance designation that you can select. It's so fast, the car actually asks you, are you sure?
Are you sure you want
to? The car actually comes back when you select it and asks you, are you sure this is what you want?
It's kind of like if you got one of those supercars like a Lamborghini, you really got to be careful.
If you are anybody who's in the modern day performance today, you owe yourself a trip to a company that sells a pure electric. Don't do the hybrid. No, pure electric. And I'm telling you, if it's a performance vehicle, not necessarily an SUV, but if it's a performance vehicle, you owe yourself, or electric car that's a straight up EV. And lone exception, I will throw the Ford Lightning, F-150 Lightning, amazing vehicle, worth the ride. The Volvos will make you cry. They're that fast, but you'll have to Volvo is on this weird tear where you will have to basically relearn everything about driving a car. All the displays, all the controls are completely different. You will cuss it for the first half an hour. Once you master it, the car will reward you with performance that, I have no words. But I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of these EVs, like if you're into some of the pure EVs, they actually have the regenerative braking, and you don't really need to hit the brake pedal because you got to learn how to drive like that.
Yeah, one pedal driving. Absolutely. And some of those, you can adjust the regen to as much or as little, not all of them. But a few of them have adjustable regen, so you can get to the one pedal mode, which is dialed all the way up. Or if you want it a little milder, you can do that.
Back.
Yeah, and I'm telling, and as you already know, once you get into one pedal driving, you won't be the same again. I think one thing I've noticed with my review of electric cars, you come to appreciate how much energy that a gas-powered car wastes.
It wastes a lot.
You get, and I mean, it's not something that you consciously do. It's just that in driving the vehicle, you become very hyper aware of the interplay of energy and kinetic energy and regen, all of that. And
just the simplicity of it, like an electric motor is so much more simplistic than a combustion engine, like a cylinder-based engine. It's really old tech. I mean, they've gotten refined and people are used to it, and they like the sound of it. You got some of these people like, I got to have my Hemi. But once you get into one of these electric cars that's super performance, he's like, what the heck were you thinking?
Well, to your point, Stellantis brought back the Hemi this year. To give you an idea how far gasoline engines have come, the Hemi costs you $1,200 more, produces less horsepower than the turbocharged V6 Hurricane engines that you can get in different trim models, by almost 50 to 100 horsepower less.
It's just that people are so stuck in the sound of those 8s. The Americans love their V8s.
Another thing that's happening with the high performance V8s, and I don't know if you've heard this. I just did a episode on it on my podcast. Talked about, it's called SWAF. It's little bits of machining metal shavings that they don't get out of it.
Oh yeah, their engines are dying.
I've read
about that.
These engines have such tight tolerances now and the oil's so thin. I mean, you're 0W20. I mean, we were using 10W30, 10W40, 20W50 in them old engines, but they didn't have the tolerances, so they could take a lot of abuse. These engines, when they run, they are awesome. If you get any kind of grit in those engines at all, it takes out the bearings.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot of engine failures across the board.
671,000 just at GM alone.
Yeah, and it's across the board. Multiple manufacturers are having these problems. And you would think, like, with all the tech, the CNC and all the robotic assembly lines, why are they being so sloppy? Like,
but to your point, it's not the big particles that you can see. It's the swath gets into these little microscopic stuff. So the question is, have they put in enough value or priority to literally almost clean room like they do in painting now?
Yeah,
you almost need a clean room engine-wise, where you've got to go through every nook and cranny of that engine to get all that grit that you might not even see out. Because if you don't, in these new ones, it just takes a little bit of that grit.
And that's the same idea in tech. Like, we have the clean rooms for creating the CPUs.
Right.
And people are like, you really need to take that same tech and apply it to a manufacturing process. But it's like they haven't taken that idea, and why don't you run with that?
Well, it's volume, it's legacy expenses, it's throughput. How much more time will that end the engine assembly? And will I be outside the unit cost allowed to make a profit on that particular program?
How much are they getting hit by the recalls?
True. But here's the challenge. It depends how the swath was introduced into the engine. If it was a supplier part, then the manufacturer doesn't take the hit, the supplier does.
Oh, so then they might not have an interest in lowering the cost because it's not their problem.
Not necessarily. And they beat up. What most people don't realize is when it comes to OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, they are brutal on their tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers relative to cost. Cost is the bugaboo. Constantly, they are beating up their suppliers constantly on cost,
which means
something to hit the number that they got to hit in order to get the contract. Did you realize for the longest, GM had a program called 322? If you get a tier 1 supplier contract where you're dealing directly with General Motors for, I don't know, you've got a part that goes on one of their engines maybe, and GM said, we need to buy from you 300,000 sets a year. That's where we're going to be. Okay. So you spend all the money, you modernize your plant, you buy the equipment, you do the training. What GM used to, in the first year of your contract, is they want a 3% decrease in what you just charged them. Then the second year, they want 2% more. And then the third year, they want another 2%. This is the kind of pressure that people don't realize is going on behind the scenes. These guys fight over tenths of a cent in production per unit.
It sounds like in the finance industry within insurance, the actuaries fight about pennies, less than pennies.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Industry
has always been.
Yeah, you guys are in the same spot. And the thing is like eventually the consumer starts saying, like, I don't want a car where the engine's dying like in less than a year.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, it could be a leading argument why you would consider a Hemi, because, of course, back in the day, your average gasoline engine was a cast iron block. Today, they're aluminum because of emission controls. They warm up better. They're able to mitigate temperature control across the engine easier in terms of warm up and cool down. But the problem is they don't take abuse that well.
Yeah.
If you overheat them and they warp, you've got 600-pound paperweight.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like with ceramics, like I'm into mountain biking, right? And everybody gets these ceramic frames. Like, I'm a mountain biker, I'm on the trail, right? Coming down a dry creek bed. If you hit a rock on one of these ceramic frames, they're like $10,000. And if they'll wreck it, and then they'll say, well, you're a mountain biker, right? if you hit a rock, they say, well, you wrecked the frame, so the warranty's void. So they're making stuff with all this advanced equipment, making aircraft aluminum. If you hit that, it will just crack it, titanium. And some people, like on handlebars, we don't really want titanium handlebars on a mountain bike. Sometimes you think you want it until like when it has a failure, it just cracks.
Well, wouldn't you want
you're coming down a mountain, you don't want it cracking like that.
No. But wouldn't you think you'd want steel with some sort of flex built in for that very reason?
Yeah, well, certain parts you do want it, because like if you're coming down a mountain at 50 miles an hour, you don't want ceramic or aircraft aluminum or titanium that's going to wreck you, right? You could die, right? So you have to make a decision. It's like, am I going for the weight or I want to survive?
Oh well.
But it's like, think about all these advanced materials that people were putting, like ceramic, like and the transmission lines, like on Skyline GTRs, they were putting like these ceramic parts in them, and then they were breaking. It sounds cool until it doesn't last.
Well, and that's the trick the automakers have: how to build something quickly that will last over the life, typically 8 to 10 years. Minimum engines nowadays are actually engineered for 150,000, which means if you take care of it, you really should be able to get another 100,000 on top of that.
Yeah.
But again, it's compounded by such things as high performance, narrow tolerance V8s. The 4s and the 6s, you don't hear that much of trouble with, like swath, like we talked about earlier, and things like that. But the more fancy the engine, the more exotic the materials, the higher risk, as you mentioned. And, it's not a matter of failure. It's a matter of, okay, this is broken. Oh, sorry, you have to replace it. We can't fix it.
Yeah, it's like I had a Volkswagen that had the turbocharged and it just blew a rod at like 135,000. And you're hoping that, it's German, it's going to last longer. But I found like with BMWs and some German cars, it's like, maybe not.
Well, it's another thing, because number one, because they are more, how do I put this gently, tightly engineered, they require more care. And that's the problem. The average person that looks at like a European vehicle, typically German, they are high performance vehicles, absolutely. But they're high performance vehicles that require a high level of attention. You can't buy a BMW and treat it like a Chevy. You can't buy a brand new BMW and treat it like a 65 Impala.
No, you can't.
You're going to get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay that maintenance. And people are a lot of times a lot of these cars, they make you drop the engine to work on them. Like Porsches, you have to drop them out of the 911s, and you have to drop them out of the body to get to a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
people are like, what the heck?
But Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, BMW, if you do the maintenance, you pay attention. I mean, my brother runs BMWs. He owns right now, to his chagrin, an Infiniti, and he vowed before God he would never own another one. It was just awful. But he's used to BMWs, and he racks up the miles. He's got the cadence down. He knows what to expect, and he doesn't have problems.
Yeah. Well, you got to just treat them like, you got to treat them with respect. And if you think you just beat up on it, like, you think about like a slant 6, you could just beat it up.
And again, the slant 6s were engineered for that.
Yeah, they were built like you just they were totally terrible.
And again, here's an engine that was designed in the late 50s to go into the 1960 Plymouth series and Dodges, the smaller ones. The 30-degree angle was designed for a lower hood, but in doing and how they built it, like so many vehicles back then, they overbuilt the engine, which means they built that sucker up. There's no way you can kill them. Fun fact, though, I did.
I killed one.
But it took 70 miles an hour and no oil.
Oh, no oil.
How you kill
one. Well, that's how you kill it. Yeah,
that's how you kill one. Unfortunately, I was a teenager. That's another story for another time. But yes, and I would gladly take my 65 Plymouth Valiant 200 back in a minute if I could get it.
Yeah, it's like when people had, I remember like in the early days, childhood 70s, you started seeing the Civics and and the Datsun B210s. Everybody was like, "Oh, like there's a fuel crisis. We got to have these cars." And so, my pop, he had slant sixes all the time. He'd just buy Chryslers. He just liked it because he was a sales guy, and he's like, "This thing's I have to be on the road all the time, and I don't want to have to worry." So that's what he always got.
Oh yeah, you can change the starter in a 225 slant six. I've done it. 10 minutes, 3 bolts. That's it. Pull the starter, boom, put the new one in, boom, boom. I'm out. You had a very easy to use fan belt. All you needed was a crowbar and a 1/2-inch socket wrench. That's all you needed in 10 minutes. That's all you needed. The thermostat sat at the top of the engine in a little housing again, 2 bolts. Pull it out, it's right there. Put your gasket there, bolt it down, you're good to go. Engine was very easy to work on.
So. But the one thing with the electric, like the motors, they're so simple that you really shouldn't need a lot of maintenance on electric cars. But what is the complicated nature of modern cars is all the CPU, all the electrics they put in them. Is that really the problem that causes like the maintenance issues?
Well, I think there are 2 problems. I don't think it's battery chemistry. People want to. I think it's the battery maintenance. The battery management system. Software there, number one. Because to back up for a minute, we talked earlier about the difference between a electric motor and an internal combustion motor. For your audience, let me make this real plain. 18 parts in an electric motor, over 400 parts and dangerous fluids in a internal combustion engine motor. So what you get down to, they're making progress in battery chemistries. You and I can talk for hours on just the variants and everything going on with that right now. That's, again, a separate conversation. But I think the 2 problems boil down to this. Battery management systems need to get better. The industry needs to come to grips with preconditioning. I can't believe it's something they haven't figured out yet. I live out here in the Midwest, and preconditioning, either extreme hot, extreme cold, would only make sense to build in a precondition that would kick in within certain temperature parameters. Because that really is what's messing up with your range, either very hot or very cold. I did a review of a Ford Lightning, 150 Lightning, sat in my driveway in the middle of the winter for 2 days. It lost 1/3 of its charge just sitting there.
Just sitting there, yeah.
1/3. Now, I'm fortunate. I live in an apartment, so I don't have something I can plug in overnight, but I'm less than 3 miles of both a bank of Tesla superchargers and local, high-speed chargers by the local utility. So I'm literally, and I mean literally, 3 miles. That's it. I'm very fortunate that I can roll up there and plug in, and they usually all work. But preconditioning, I think, is an issue. I think the battery management system is an issue. And here's something that I believe in doing my reading. I think that lithium-ion batteries, as they are today in EVs, are on the way out.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I would be very surprised 10 years from now if the batteries they're using are the current slurry of lithium ion. I see solid state lithium.
Yeah, solid state.
But even that
is not the top.
Well, the automakers want to move away. They're going to lithium ion batteries. They're going to batteries that even use, if you can believe this, coal as one of the poles. I can't remember which electrode, but
so it's like a solid state
actual coal is part of an electric motor. If you believe it.
That makes the different chemistries you can go with. Because I know Toyota's got some like ideas for in the next 2 years. They're saying they have a heavy solid state battery program, and they're saying you get 600, 700 miles, 10-minute charging.
2026 model year, Toyota said they will have a solid state lithium ion battery with a range of 600 miles. They also said by the end of the decade, they will have one that has a range of 1,000 miles.
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Now, the flip side that's going on is the ability to charge quickly. Right now, most automakers will be able to tell you we can recharge at a fast charger from 10% to 80%, 15, 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
And it will take you maybe another half an hour to get that remaining 20%. But in a pinch, you should be able to get, even today, right now, the majority of your electric power in 15 minutes.
Yeah, the superchargers, like at the Tesla supercharger, if your car can do that, you can get like what, 70% or something?
Now, the beautiful part, there is technology in the fringes that's got that down to 5 minutes.
Well, man, that's even exponential. Like in tech, the tech world with the ability of us to exponentially change things like super fast, because it goes from like you're dealing with chemistry and you're dealing with software. And you're dealing with processing speed and capabilities. And like you said, like preconditioning and making sure you have like a coolant or heating system for the battery. So that when you have your car, if it knows it's cold, it like heats itself up. If it's too hot, it cools itself down. You would have to automatically come on and do that. And I know there are some designs that are, even today they have designs that will address that. Sure, that would address that, but not those are expensive.
Well, again, like I tell my listeners, once the traditional automakers start scaling up EVs, even now, even with the pullback, because they haven't pulled away.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of people don't realize. GM still builds 3 different pickup trucks that are EVs, a couple of different SUVs that are all pure electric still. But to get to your point, extreme service, I would expect them to have preconditioning. What people don't realize, the beautiful thing about EVs, really, and people don't talk about it enough, as technology gets better, much the same way, and you know this, much the same way that you get an over-the-air update for your phone, you get an over-the-air update for your computer. Right now, you get an over-the-air update, and I fully expect if you buy a vehicle today, an EV today, with a range of 350 miles, 2 years from now, the automaker comes back to you and says, hey, for $695, we can double your range.
Yeah, with an update, right?
Well, duh. And you pay it, and it's an over-the-air update. You don't even have to go to the dealer. Boom, you got it. Or better still, they come back to you and they say, hey, we've upgraded our battery management system to where we can now reduce that 40-minute charge time to 10 minutes, 0 to 90. And you're like, yeah, Mercedes is already doing it. Mercedes already has a way, the last couple model years, if you wanted to increase range, you paid them. It was $695.
Well, it's like a subscription. Everybody's going with these subscription models.
Well, they've tried the subscription models, and basically the public gave them the finger.
They don't like it.
Right. But by the same token, as algorithms, logarithms, and they figure this stuff out and gets better and they can program it.
Yeah.
Unlike having to, back in the day, if you wanted to boost the power of your 1982 Nissan Stanza, you said, I want to increase the performance by 50 horsepower. You'd have to find an aftermarket firm to add either a blower or a new head or larger pistons. You had to go, and it was weeks if you could get the parts, and it was all custom. Which means if the guy that you trusted didn't know what they were doing, it could really mess you up. Today, it's from the manufacturer. Over-the-air update. This only gets better, which means you got a 10-year-old car now in 2035 that has the same range or almost as much range as the new ones. And the only reason why you're trading is the things just physically, completely, and utterly wore out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a whole game changer when you deal with the way IT, the mindset in IT is like agile. The fact that our software continually updates, right? So what we didn't know yesterday, we go give you an over-the-air update, and now you have it today, right? And so the same thing when these cars are basically computers with a vacuum cleaner, know, it's got an electric motor. It's super simple. We have 14 parts, and the most complicated thing is the battery management and maybe like the preconditioning capability, like whether or not you've got coolant or some kind of chemistry management or however. That's where the engineers and the chemists are going to get in and start having like leapfrogs. There's going to be big leapfrogs, like in AI, like all these data centers that cost all this money, use all this water. Well, exponentially,
let me ask
they're going to get better.
Let me ask you a question about that. I want your take on this. There is a Chinese company that developed a level of AI that is as good as the majors here, and they did it for $6 million. If you are an investor in an AI development company, why aren't you asking the hard question that says you want how many billions to do what these folks did for pennies? For your testing protocol cost more.
Well, the problem I have with some of these AI companies is like they're kind of in kind of like the dot-com movement. Like there's going to be a bubble burst because the technology, right? It's exponential. If you go and spend all $1 trillion on something like today, it's already out of date by the time you break ground. A lot of this stuff can be done with software. You don't need the hardware as much. The Americans, we're going with this hardware, physical data center model. When it's actually the software, if you change the software, it's not an energy hog, right? It doesn't run hot. If you get better at your software, right, your hardware doesn't have to be so expensive. So these people investing all this money, and then the fact is the GPUs wear out in 5 years, right? So if you put all that money into a data center, and in 5 years it's obsolete, by the first year, the tech in it's probably obsolete. So why are you doing that? You're gonna crash, and then like your competition's gonna say, "Well, I don't know why you did that. I can do it better for less money, less water, less heat."
Well, that was my whole point. The minute I heard that this one company did it, and they weren't even a bona fide AI company, this was kind of just an outshoot of what they were doing. And it was $6 million. And I don't know if it was Meta or one of them that said their test out was 100 million just to verify.
Yeah, they're so crazy expensive, they don't make sense to me. Like most of them don't make a profit, right? And they're kind of incestuous in terms of like they're all kind of feeding each other. They're all kind of eating each other between the data center and the tech. And then like who owns like the software, right? Like who owns it? Like if you sell it off to Oracle and then they own it, like it's really going to be the people who run the cloud structure. If they actually own it, you're not going to, the AI company's not going to make any money.
No.
Eventually, they're going to get knocked out and they're going to get absorbed, and it's going to be merged out, right? And so there's going to be a lot of problems. I mean, the tech is going to get better, but some people are going to lose their shirt.
But here's the thing. That's been corporate history for the last 200 years. I mean, go back a minute. You said you're a child of the 70s, so you remembered was probably a kid coming up when personal computers first came out. Then the internet, probably in your early 20s by then. Most of the companies that were leaders then, Netscape, AskG, Buena Vista, they're gone. The words, if you look at somebody and talk about an IBM compatible personal computer, nothing.
They don't even know.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I had a Texas system at 4A, you know.
Right. So here's what happened. Broadband 20 years ago. Folks built it. They threw a lot of money into it. They overbuilt the fallout, and the folks who survived bought that at bankruptcy auction on pennies on the dollar. Which is now why we have broadband. AI is going to do the same thing, as you just said. AI is having a bubble. I use a lot of AI.
I use it too.
In business, and I fully understand the risk. I never turn AI loose. I'm always the human in the loop. In fact, I did.
Oh yeah, you got to cross-check it because it's like there's hallucinations. Because the problem with it is like you think about this as a data guy, right? The old database mainframe, or even big server systems, right? You have a kind of limited set of like your data, right? Your data sources are known.
Right.
Once you go to AI, there's something about in data building, when you build a data set, like you have your known data set, like you have a known so you have the limitations, but you have a predictability. The problem with AI is it goes out And every day it's getting like new libraries, it's getting new stuff, right? So when you ask it something yesterday and you ask the same thing today, it gives you some different answer because it's not a predictable data set. And a lot of times it gives you sometimes it gives you hallucinations and it's not the right information.
Agreed. But this is what separates, if you will, the men from the boys. To the uninitiated, and they say AI generally, you and I know there are different agents, different aspects, different models, hundreds. I subscribe to something called Galaxy.ai, 3,500 different AI tools. I use, on average, anywhere from 3 to 6 tools in my daily operation of things. And I've learned how to feed them. But the important thing is the old computer term. Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage out, yeah. It's always going to be garbage in, garbage out.
If you control what you train the model on, and then you very insistent. Perfect example. Just give an example. I'm starting to write a book. I'm writing a nonfiction book about entrepreneurship. And I use ChatGPT and I use Perplexity. ChatGPT is usually my go-to. It gave me garbage. I can't use any of it. I went to Perplexity, gave it the same exact instructions, and got some phenomenal stuff that now I'm working with. Yeah, but that's not unusual for me.
Yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out. It really depends on what you train it on. Like if you train it on Reddit, right, then you're gonna get what Reddit gives you. Right? If you train it on, like an insurance company database, like a insurance company, we use all these databases like standards, like ISO type standards, right? If you train it on that, it's going to be good because it's like standard, it's proven. If you train it on Reddit, it's not going to be ISO.
You're going to get what you get.
You get what you get,
right? But here's the thing: we both know that you're as good as your prompts, and there's certain guardrails you build into the prompts, and understand. Like I've built a template for some of my production. I continue to tweak that template, and learn something else. What was it? Locked and immutable are two terms that ChatGPT used I never knew existed. That when you say lock this and make it immutable, it will not stray absolutely.
That's good. That's what you want.
And I did not know that. It taught me that.
Yeah, well, that's the straying is the problem.
Well, I'm very strict about my guidelines. So as I'm tweaking it, and occasionally I will tell it, stick to what I gave you exactly. Don't hallucinate.
Yeah.
Or if it gives me something, like I'll use it. I write scripts for my 1-minute daily program because I've got to work it around an advertiser open and a close. I got that much time to do it. It would take me hours to get it down and to use words that are readable on air, that I can read and not stumble over. So I've got it trained. Every now and then, well, less now with ChatGPT 5.2, but 5.0, yeah, it would wander because I feed it the specific source documents I want it to create from. And I've got the source documents in front of me when I check it. And if I don't like it, or it's show me your sources, or do it again, stick to what I gave you.
Yeah.
And then we'll straighten up. Less an issue with 5.2 than 5.0.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I use different ones for different reasons, and I might take the output of one and feed it to a different one to just make it better.
Yeah, I mean it's really kind of Wild West out there with some of these, and and the thing is, they keep when you fundamentally change your structural model, like it could be good today, but it doesn't mean it's good tomorrow. Because in software design, sometimes we can screw it up, right? If they do like a structural deficiency, so even though something's the latest and greatest, it's actually give you worse results. And so it's always good to trust and verify and use other models to see what you're getting, because it's so in flux, and sometimes like if the use case for one thing doesn't actually make it work for everything.
Right.
And when sometimes when they build these use cases, and it works really good for this. But for this other thing, it doesn't work at all. And the problem is they try to sell AI as the panacea for everything. Well, there are some business cases where you really shouldn't use it.
Well, right? I agree. I totally agree, because that is one piece of information when I'm working with businesses. I said, first of all, AI ain't going to cure your problem. Second of all, you need to figure out, first of all, what it is that you want it to do. Second of all, do you have your ducks in a row? AI can help you be more productive, but if you've got a systemic problem in your system bad without workflow, AI, it will not correct it. It will make it worse.
It'll make it worse. And the problem, like a lot of times workflows, people don't realize, like you have the customer relationship model, and then you have a situation where you have like the unhappy path. Nobody programs for it. That's what the person. That's what the person's for. That's what the human customer service rep is for. You get these VPs. They think that the AI is going to solve that unhappy path. It's not. Actually, and if you fire your people that know that, you just lost all your institutional knowledge, and your AI doesn't have it.
And here's something more important. Usually, if you've got a customer, and I don't care, product, service, whatever, if they're calling in, it's because they've fallen through the cracks of your automated system. They've got something really screwy going on that AI is not going to pick up on. And to your point, somebody with the institutional knowledge at least knows the questions to ask, even if they don't necessarily know the problem, because it is that weird. I've been on both sides of that, where I'm working with a company now through one of the processes that I use. I've fallen through the cracks. Their automated system won't fix it. I'm dealing with human beings because of how their company was structured. They got bought by somebody else, and it's a mess. But we're almost through. But yeah,
it's a problem I run into is a lot of times what we have in the industry is like SMEs, subject matter experts, and we have critical dependency principles, right? So we get some person as a critical dependency. Maybe they had this mainframe system, got some guy who knows COBOL, got some actuator that knows this, right? Nobody ever wrote it down. Nobody really understands it except the SMEs and the person who built that mainframe. And then you bring in some AI guy, some kid, some 22, 23-year-old. They don't understand the COBOL. They don't know what the COBOL codes mean. They make assumptions on what it means, but that's not what it means. And then they wreck it.
Oh, absolutely. Business is full of examples. Here's my personal favorite. And any new bauble, right now it's AI. Management comes in and says, oh my God, we got to do this. Without looking at, one, the company's own strengths. They don't even know the strengths and weaknesses of their own company to start with. So they don't even know how to deploy it. Second of all, buy-in. Just because management wants it doesn't mean that the folks ending up who's going to implement it, use it, be the point of the spear, agree with you in direction, application, deployment, the whole bit. Happens all the time. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. I've seen that happen long before the internet. Same problem.
Yeah, we get these people, they want to replace the mainframe, spend all this time putting something into Oracle, and it missed half of the business cases. And then it's like, then they were supposed to sunset that system. And then I'm a COBOL guy, right? So I know a lot of things, but I get brought in on stuff where that's still running. A lot of these mainframe systems are still running because we had all these people saying they were going to replace them, like back in Y2K, back in this and back in that. They're still there. Right. Because the people who went to replace them missed a bunch of business cases and they still have to be there.
Or it's the band-aids between the legacy system where they're trying to go. And the risk is when that person retires, leaves, or otherwise is no longer available, you're screwed. And it would cost at this point so much money to build a new system from scratch to replicate or improve upon the legacy system that's been working for 30, 40, 45 years. And that's really the big problem of most American business. They've allowed their legacy costs to nearly strangle them. And they're getting to the end of where these folks who had that knowledge are retiring, leaving, dying off, and they're stuck.
Yeah, because they've never been really good at getting that institutional knowledge from those people. Because a lot of times they went in and they just wanted to, like, oh, we'll just fire them.
Well,
and we get rid of them.
the big problem has always been they look at it from a cost standpoint. They said, well, these folks came to them 30 years ago and said, we need to develop a system to move away from this. The accountants asked, how much? They told them. The accountants gagged, said, we can't do that. It's perfectly fine now. So what happens? 10 years, 15 years into the plan, you start having the hiccups because now your needs are beyond the legacy system and you need to incorporate, like you said, all these additional business cases while still maintaining the stuff that's making the money. You know, you don't want the core stuff to die, but yet you need to involve it. So here come the Band-Aids. Well, we'll do this for now. And, you know, we'll get around this. We'll hold it till we replace it. They said that 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of time feeding legacy systems into data lakes. And the feed. And so everybody said, oh, well, we're taking care of it. Don't you understand? That legacy system is sending me a batch file every day. It's not gone. It's just going into a data lake so you can send it to the smartphone.
Oh my God.
It doesn't mean it's gone. It's still there.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of people are living. It's like, you don't understand. Your stuff is still, you're still living with those.
If they knew, in fact, they did a study around Y2K, and then 10 years in, there's some systems, I think, still running Windows 98.
Yeah, there's tons.
That is scary.
Yeah, and some of them they're kind of built into their workflows, and they don't know what to do. And they've kind of gone and created that problem again. There's stuff like on Windows 10, and Microsoft wants to knock it out. And there's a bunch of stuff that's on it.
Well, what usually happens, like you said, it gets ossified into the system, and it's so ingrained, you can't divorce from it because all this other stuff, you know, the Band-Aids that they've been building for
it's all cascades. It's like exponentials. Like you get these Band-Aids, and it actually becomes like, this is actually a pillar of your system, of your full system, even though the CEO sees people looking at your app on the smartphone. Behind that is a batch file running on a vSAN. On a digital IBM mainframe.
And there may be 2 or 3 people left in the company that even know how to fix it if you had a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, it's AS400 running and you're still running. You know.
Ooh. Oh my God. Yeah, that's scary stuff out there.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's like, you know, it keeps me paid.
I know. You've heard the term a technology debt.
Yep.
All this stuff we just talked about that they need to resolve ain't gonna happen until there's a major crash.
Yeah, they start getting folks like me trying to cross-train guys in like India, and they spend time. And I've been on tons of projects where we're gonna pick Jones's brain and we're gonna give it to these guys in Mumbai, right? And they did it. I leave. And then like a year later, they call me up and say, oh, we got to have you come back.
And that's when you break out premium billing.
Yeah.
That, you know, I could have helped you for a lot less money a year ago, but now here you are. This is going to cost
my bill rate just went up like 30%.
You're right. By a lot.
But it's interesting because like the tech world, we're living in this age where, you know, I was watching like young people. I was going to ask about this. They're saying there's a lot of people. My daughter's 25. And a lot of her friends, they don't even know how to drive. Right? They just go on Ubers. They just order like Lyfts and Ubers. They don't. And they ask them. It's like, when I was a kid, I was dying to have a car. I went and got my license so I could drive. Like 16.
Right.
These kids, like, they don't have any passion for driving at all.
Well,
and I'm like, wow.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Because I've studied and reported on that at length. What's happening is twofold. The kids that are driving are getting the licenses a lot later than we did. I mean, I was the same way. 16, oh my God, you know? But we also didn't have the social infrastructure that they have today. For us, whether you were living in the city, rural, country, social meant wheels. If you didn't have wheels, you couldn't be social, couldn't hang with your boys, couldn't take a girl out, couldn't do anything. You were stuck. Today, they have a lot of that. And they feel, looking at cost, I mean, if you're in a bigger city, I mean, I didn't own a car until the day before I graduated college. Well, I did. Then went to college, didn't own a car for 4 years. I went to school in Boston. I bought a brand new car 6 weeks after I got married, the day before I graduated college. I bought a brand new car. I was 22. But today, do you need one? Not necessarily.
Especially in a city.
What they are finding is, instead of 16, they're now 27, 28. They're starting a family. They realize, oh my God, I need to do this.
You need a minivan.
Yeah, I need a minivan. I got to get my license. I need something to haul the kids around. And that's kind of what's happening. So part of that, it's delay. Part of them, like my kids are in their 40s. They would just as soon, if autonomous cars were a thing,
they would be on that.
They would own them.
Yeah, they don't even want to know how to use a clutch. Like
oh goodness,
always spend my time with my uncle with his like bug eye spray, in his Beetle. And he'll learn how to do the clutch. It's like a lot of kids today, they don't even know how to do a standard. They wouldn't want it at all.
With 3 on the tree. My first car. I had to learn it. I had it mastered in a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun though. I can drive darn near anything.
I had like a little Nissan, like a little NX 2000.
Right. Oh God, I remember.
It had a 5-speed and the T-top, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I would. 140 horsepower, but it was good enough.
I owned an 86 Sentra.
Yeah.
5-speed, I think. I think it was a 5-speed. Yeah.
5-speed. SCRs had 5s, But,
oh no, mine wasn't that fast. It was a straight up Sentra sedan.
Just a regular, yeah.
Yeah.
I had like the SCR type, and the NX 2000 had like a SCR type of engine.
Right.
But I just like, my cousins were into GTIs and little pocket rockets, little Civics and stuff, and that was this age, when we were coming up. It's like it wasn't having like a Barracuda; it was having like a GTI.
Yeah, a 5-speed GTI is still a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
I reviewed a GTI and a Golf R here in the last year. Oh, still would drive them. But the car I miss, there are 2 cars I miss: Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9.
Oh yeah, that's a cool car.
That is a car based on World Rally. You could be doing 30 miles an hour going one way. Put that sucker in 3rd gear. You can go the opposite way. Car won't even get ruffled. Won't fog, nothing. You can turn that car on a dime in 3rd gear and wouldn't even have downshift.
Yeah.
The other vehicle was the Subaru WRX STI sedan, not the 5-door wide,
not the hatchback,
but the sedan. Of the 2, the Evo was actually the better daily driver. The Subaru was fun, but it was screwed down so tight suspension wise.
Oh, it's a hard drive. Rough. It would like rattle you around. Rattle you too much.
They were both fun. If you love to drive, loved to
drive. I always wanted. I wanted a WRX STI. I wanted one of those big time. I never got it. Well, that's. I should have got. I went and bought a freak. I bought a VW, and I was like, oh, I should have bought that.
Yeah, the Volkswagen probably would have held together better. So yeah,
it lasted longer, so that's why I bought it. But
absolutely.
There's one of these kids today is like they're going to be hot rodding their cars through like updates.
They're doing that now.
Yeah, they're going to be like
you sit down with a laptop anymore in a garage and they reprogram the stupid thing.
Yeah, they're reprogramming
the flash memory. They can reprogram at will. The days of hardware, what we would remember, them days are pretty much over.
Especially when we get to these, and what do you think's going to happen with like hydrogen? Everybody's always talking about, we're going to these fuel cells, but we don't really have the infrastructure for that. And no one seems to be interested in building.
Let's in the time we got left, let's talk about 2 different ways you can use hydrogen. The one most people are familiar with is a fuel cell. But people don't realize that hydrogen molecularly can be run just like gasoline with little to no variation in programming into an internal combustion engine. BMW tried that in 2007 with their 7 Series. There's a smattering of automakers that have played with it like that. Porsche was thinking about doing that for a minute. And I think some heavy truck manufacturers are looking at doing it that way. It really depends. California has it. There was language in the infrastructure bill that was passed in 2021 that had money for a dramatic growth in the number of hydrogen outlets. I don't think hydrogen's dead. I think it will be a specialty fuel for certain applications, but I'm not sure that it will always be the choice of a fuel cell. In some cases, I think they may revisit burning it directly.
Yeah, as a combustion, not actually putting it into a fuel cell and running it like electric car.
And is actually safer than gasoline because it doesn't pool, it dissipates quicker, unlike gasoline, which is heavier and tends to pool, and their fumes are very dangerous. Hydrogen, lighter than air, dissipates. You don't have the same explosion or fire risk.
That's interesting. Do you think that once we get rid of this, we get out of this pullback phase, that the EVs, like, 10 years from now, EVs are going to be like the predominant car?
I think that it's not going to be one answer. It's not going to be all this or all that. I think that looking at the long view, they may have done the industry a favor. What people don't realize, and I talk about all the time, the automakers look globally, and they look 5, 10, 15 years out because of the capital constraints, the capital requirements of them spending billions of dollars over programs. On the one hand, they did United States an injustice by doing what they did.
Mm-hmm.
The long term is going to force automakers who are still making EVs to figure out a way to make them more profitable and to get the cost down. So for the long term, the long outlook, I think it will help EVs. Short outlook, not so much. But I think they'll be an important part of the mix, but I don't think it'll be all or nothing. There are some applications where internal combustion engines are still needed and will still be used, just a smaller part of the overall pie.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, well, for big rigs and like the trucking industry, are they gonna like maybe move toward the hydrogen solution?
They're going to fuel cells. It's the only thing that makes economic sense across everything. For everything they need to be. You do have one company, it's Cummins, has developed a fuel agnostic engine that can burn a variety of different things. I think they call it the X15. It's a 12-liter monster that can do things. Toyota's been fooling with hydrogen fuel cells at the Port of Los Angeles, in Kenworth's, and Kenworth's for sure, Max, I think, or Peterbilt. And they've been experimenting now for 4 years. No, sorry, 7 years.
Wow. So
at the Port of LA and Long Beach with that. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, that sounds cool. The future is coming. Whether anybody, it's just going to happen. You're going to be in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. EVs ain't dead. Hydrogen ain't dead. Autonomous trucks, they're here. They're not coming. They're here.
Yeah, I've seen those. So. I wonder what the Teamsters think about that.
Well, you're dealing with a trucking crisis as truckers are aging out. So not all your truck drivers are unionized. So
yeah, so I guess it's going to be
break all by itself, my friend.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. Because if you don't have enough guys, then what's going to happen? The industry is going to try to find something.
Exactly.
So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot if you make it too hard.
Yep. Exactly.
You get trucks where you don't need to know how to do the shifting. Right.
Well, most of them are automatic now anyway.
Yeah. So then that like your expertise suddenly like that was like a impedance, for people getting into it, like limiting. So you have a lot of work, but now the trucking manufacturers and the truck companies learned by going to automatics: less wear, less downtime, less maintenance. Oh, so that solved a big problem then, because that was probably causing trouble. Inefficiency. That's an inefficiency. You don't want that. Efficiency is always going to run the day.
Particularly in trucking right now. One autonomous trucking firm estimated that by opening up a lane, I think it was between Fort Worth and Phoenix, they could save $600 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, future's here. People got to get to it. If you thought that, being a stick jockey was going to keep you in it, maybe not.
Well, what will happen is there's a subset of the trucking industry, which is the over-the-road long distance. That's where the problem is. What you're going to find is trucking's going to evolve to last mile, where you'll still have people who are willing to work. They work in their communities, they're home every night, they're not on the road. And the over-the-road long distance trucking, what they call middle mile, is probably what's going to be being automated, not what's
that
probably
should be fully automated, because being totally robotic
right now.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Well, we went through a lot of topics today. We could keep on going, but we hit our hour mark. I enjoyed it, because I like getting into this stuff, and I don't get to talk about it all the time.
You want me back? Let me know. I'll be glad to be here.
Especially when you come out with a book. Like, we have authors come on the show all the time, so that's a kind of a prompt to, when your book is ready, give me a ring, and you want to talk about it, want to push it, that would be cool.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too, sir. Take care.
Thank you.